Shabbat Shalom. I'm going to show you something that you've never seen with the David and Goliath story before. Now, this is like one of those Bible stories that you would always hear in Sunday school or whatever class you were in. Everybody knows about David and Goliath, but the Most High was saying to me in the spirit all this week, Goliath is dead, Goliath is dead, Goliath is dead. And if you are someone that engages in spiritual warfare, one of the most powerful scriptures that you can quote, especially when you are in this pattern and the same function that young David was, coming up against a giant, against an enemy that is obviously, clearly in the wrong, is for you to sling a spiritual rock, a smooth stone, at the head of the giant and take them out. Because when the Most High sends an arrow, he does not miss. This is a prayer point. But I want to show you something. So you want to go to 1 Samuel chapter 17. That is the story of Goliath, and I'm going to leave some other scriptures down below for you to do a Bible study, okay? What I'm about to show you is so powerful, and it's going to resonate with you if it's called for you, if this is your set apart time to function in this manner. Because what the scriptures are these stories of testaments to show you how to pray and how to function against adversaries. Now, King David, before he was king, this is prior to him being king, if you're not familiar with the story, this was when he was a young boy. At this time in Israel, they had King Saul. King Saul would later turn out to lose his mind and turn against David, even though David was righteous. But we're not even at that point yet. That's much later in the story. So right here, King Saul, he had killed so many armies for Israel, for the people of Yah. But King David is coming up. This is like King David's chance to show his victory in the Most High Yah. And so King David is tending to the sheep's one day, to the sheep, because he was a shepherd boy. He was the youngest in his family also, by the way. This is a pattern you're going to see a lot in the scriptures. At this time, young David is tending to the sheep. He went to do something for his father. His father told him to go out and get some food or something of that sort. And he goes out. He overhears a giant, a literal giant that's 9 feet tall, like a literal fallen one. And I want to provide some context, some backstory, because it's time that we move from milk to meat. Giants, especially when you look at the book of Enoch, they are descendants of the fallen ones. This is one of the reasons the book of Enoch was taken out of the scriptures. This is a lesson we even teach our children. A lot of people will tell you, oh, don't look at the Apocrypha, don't look at the extra books, it's too scary. Listen, we are coming into the times where it will be as in the days of Noah. So you have to ask the question, what did the days of Noah look like? The only way you're going to figure that out is if you go back to these scriptures and you pray for the Most High to reveal it, and you read Enoch and see what happened with the fallen ones. But this is not what this video is about. I just want to provide that context so you can say, how did Goliath get there? How is he a giant? How is he 9 feet tall? How is that even real? Because this was a giant that would have made it through the flood. That seed would have made it through the flood. And you still have that today on the earth. That seed would have made it through the flood. So he hears him mocking the children of Israel and Yah, because when you mock Yah's people, you mock him. This is why this story is so powerful. You can't get away from that. When you mock Yah's chosen people, you mock him. He does not take it lightly, as we're going to get through in this story. So young David overhears this. He's probably 19, 20 years old at this rate. He's a child, right? Compared to everybody else out there, he's a child. And so he overhears this. He goes back, talks to King Saul. He talks to the people of Israel. And he says, we can't let this giant talk about us like this, talk about our God like this. We can't let him talk about Yah like this. Like, we have to go get him. They're like, we can't really beat him. He's a giant. So these older people, they obviously have a lack of faith happening. And King David's like, well, he's still young David at this time. I keep calling him King David. He's young David at this rate. He's saying to them, he's like, no, we have to defeat him. We have to settle this. We cannot let him defy the armies of Yah. And you see where King David's heart is, young David's heart is. He doesn't even come out and say, the Israelites are the best people on earth. We are the best people to ever touch the face of the earth. Why is he coming at us? We're so great. We got this, we got that. We got all of our armies. Young David doesn't even say that. His heart position is what really wins this battle. His heart position is, we cannot let him defy the armies of Yah and think that Yah does not have vessels and people on this earth that have power. He cannot mock Yahuwah. That is what young David was interested in and provoked about. And so they say, okay, maybe you're right, you know. And King David, young David, goes to King Saul and he says, you know, I have been able to fight lions, bears by the power of Yah. I have wrangled bears and lions, okay? This is something that King David did as a shepherd boy. He was taking care of the sheep. That was a pivotal point in his life as a child where he would wrangle and wrestle these bears and lions almost effortlessly to save the sheep. This is a picture also of the Hamashiach Yahusha. Okay, that's like a picture, like he's wrangling these wild beasts for the sheep. And if you imagine a sheep, they are not the smartest animals, but they need a lot of protection. They need a lot of covering. They're cute, they're cozy, they're just walking through the grass. They don't necessarily know what they're doing. The shepherd has to be there to guide them. Psalms 23. And so he says, you know, I can do this. I can take Goliath. I can do it. Yahuwah is going to be with me. God is going to be with me. He's going to bless the works of my hands. I will be able to take him out. King Saul says, okay, here's the armor and shield. King David, young King David says, I don't need the armor or the shield. Yah has given me a weapon of choice. I need what I'm used to. When you are in spiritual warfare, don't take even if it's somebody that means well for you. King Saul at that point meant well, but David knew, I can't fight with something that I'm not used to. The armor's probably going to be too big. He's not used to it. He hasn't practiced in that. That's not what he was used to doing. He says, give me just my slingshot and my smooth rock. That's all I need. So Goliath is obviously mocking young David at this rate. He thinks it's funny. He's like, this young kid thinks he's going to come up to me. He's like, I'm Goliath. I'm 9 feet tall. I'm a giant. I don't know how many years old he was. He was probably a couple hundred years old. Who knows? But this giant, he's like, I'm 9 foot tall. You know, he had the armies of the Philistines with him. He's like, they're not going to be able to touch me. I don't know what he's thinking. He was just saying all this stuff, yapping out of his giant mouth, not knowing what on earth he was talking about. This is a pattern. You're going to see the patterns, okay? King David, he's not a yapper. He's not someone that does a lot of mockery. He just gets straight to business. King David, especially in his younger years, he would have been a quiet, astute shepherd boy that was focused just on what he was supposed to do, being obedient to his father as the youngest in his father's house, but then also being obedient to the king of Yasharel, which was King Saul at that time. So he says verbally to the giant, to Goliath, that he will defeat him by the power of Yah. You trust in your chariots, your horses, but I come in the name and the power of Yahuwah of hosts. He shoots his slingshot. It's a fight that doesn't even end up being a fight, because King David understands, young David understands spiritual warfare. He does not give the enemy an occasion to even get in the fight all the way. He shoots his slingshot and he immediately takes him out, because the slingshot hits him in the forehead. Now, if you would think of this as probably hit like an artery or a main, you know, whatever it was, but wherever it hit, the hand of the Most High was on David, so that when he shot that arrow, as it says in Psalms, he did not miss. And what gave young David this advantage, one was his heart posture, two was the fact that the context of the story, this is an entity that was clearly in the wrong. Again, I want to reiterate and highlight how Goliath, even though he's bigger, he's 9 feet tall against this 20-year-old. Like, can we even picture something 9 feet tall? And your teenager or whoever who's young going out ready to fight, they don't have armor. He doesn't have a knife. He has a slingshot and a rock. But he says, I'm more than capable, because he knows he's not coming on his own behalf. And so he slings that rock and Goliath is dead. Goliath is fallen. Again, that context, the Nephilim, the fallen ones, this seed of the fallen, those who take on the entity and spirit of the fallen, you can always see, because you're going to understand who operates in the spirit of David and who operates in the spirit of Goliath, who operates in falsehood and mockery, and who operates with results and action. That's how David moved in. He moved in with results and action, testifying of Yah, getting down to the result that he wanted to get, and getting down to the action that would bring that to fruition. And then when he did it, he wasn't even gloating in it all that long. He was worshiping Yah and bringing the people to worship Yah, bringing them closer to testify of the Most High's greatness. And he didn't back down. He was fearless. He was a fearless 19, 20-year-old. So he doesn't back down. And so David, whether he realized it or not, the context of this story is similar to when you're reading Torah, where the children of Israel are going into the land, and the Most High Yah, he says to them, I'm not bringing you into the land because of your righteousness. He says, I'm doing it because of the wickedness of the nations around you, i.e. the Philistines, the Moabites, the Amaleks, all the folks. They were all in Africa at that time, by the way. Just, that's just historical and geographical context. So the Most High says to the Israelites, and David knows this because he would have meditated in the scriptures day and night. He says later in Psalms that he had meditated in the word day and night. So he would have already known the context that the Most High does not bless you according to how righteous you are, but according to the wickedness of the nations and the people that are around you. So let this be a testament and an encourager and a testifier today. If you are in warfare, you need to act as David acted, with precision. He only spoke what was necessary to speak, and when he spoke, it was thus as the oracles of the Most High Yah. That was it. He wasn't about all the talk. He wasn't about all the whatever Goliath wanted him to be about, mocking him, trying to crush and bruise his spirit. David went and got into his spiritual business of worshiping Yah, putting him as the front and center, not being prideful and glorifying himself. King Goliath's fall was the fact that he could not let go of pride. He could not let go of the fact that he was a giant. This is why the giants could not get repentance. This is why the giants were wiped off the earth. This is why the Most High Yah says, I am near to the humble, but I am far from the prideful. Meaning, when somebody that is engulfed in this spirit of pride, which functions also as a python spirit, this boa constrictor spirit, they cannot even perceive the things of Yah. Whether they say his name or not, whether they say hallelujah or not, they cannot even pray to the Most High because he will not even hear their prayers. This is a bad place to be in. So this was an easy fight for young David. This was a simple fight. Young King David knew this. He knew this was a fight that he was going to win right away, because he understood biblical principle. When you're coming up against somebody that's already in the wrong, already in falsehood, they could be as giant, as old, as magnificent as they like to think, but understand, according to Proverbs, that pride comes before a fall. That's what screwed up Goliath. That's why he was destined to be screwed up in that way. And David was always going to be destined to win the battle, despite not being a man of war yet, except he did fight the lions and the bears for his sheep. Despite not being of an older age, again, this man's like 19, 20 when this happens. At the most you could say maybe he was 25, if that, but probably not. He was 19, 20 years old. And so let this be a testament and another look at the story of David, to see all of these moving parts, setting the scene, these context clues that we have, these historical references on why David won and why the Philistines and Goliath were always destined to fail at that very moment. This is your David and Goliath moment, and I'm here to tell you that you already won. You already won for what I've just described. You are in the right, they are in the wrong, blatantly. It's very simple. It's so simple, it doesn't even make sense. On top of that, you are not even the type to be a mocking spirit. You're not the type to act perversely. You're the type to function in Psalms 1. Blessed are those who sit not in the seat of the scornful, who sit not in the seat of the mockers, but are planted by rivers of living water, who yield fruit in all seasons. You're that person. And so I want you to put on the spirit that young David had at that time. It doesn't matter how tall. They could be 9 feet tall. They could be 20 feet tall. It didn't matter to David. It did not matter, because the Most High will fight for you, not because of how great you are, but 1, because of how righteous and great he is, and 2, because of the wickedness of those around you. Shalom, shalom. Let this be an encourager. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Be blessed.